Now, time to dive into the NFL draft. Obviously, kind of just threw three topics out there. We'll just kind of chew on them. Any of the storylines, any of the players to watch, and then, of course, what do you want your team to do next Thursday, whether it's a position, whether it's a player. Raider Jim, I'm going to give you first crack. Your thoughts on all things NFL draft.
Oh, all the talk about where Sanders gonna go, this and that and the other. The first two people to go are gonna be Travis Hunter and Cam Ward.
Yep.
Cam Ward's probably gonna be the number one overall pick, if you ask me, and might as well, because if you look at the other 99 guys that are online, they've got 99 different answers too, or at least we're splitting it down the middle. But I think Cam Ward goes number one, Travis Hunter. Now, here's the thing about drafting a Travis Hunter, and are you drafting him as a wide receiver? Or are you drafting him as a defensive back? I mean, that's kind of tough. And then I even heard, I think it was Chris Collinsworth made the remark, he would definitely take a shot at letting him play cornerback and every now and then filling him in at wide receiver, basically playing both sides of the ball, not full time by any stretch, but he would definitely platoon his skills to use him on both sides of the line, depending on the situations. One knock I heard was he was not always the best of, he wasn't going to throttle guys when he's playing defensive back. Covers very well. He, has the feet, has the skills, has all that stuff, but he wasn't that overly physical defensive back. I didn't see him play enough to tell you that that's the truth or not. Other people I like, Ashton Jeanty. Here we go. There's that name again. 5'8", and I saw this cat with his shirt off the other day, and it scared me. I mean, he is he is built. If he can keep that frame healthy, he might be able to really make a name for himself in the NFL. It's that joke you and I always make though. 5'8" is what they're listing him at. Okay, but when he takes the cleats off, how tall is he? Is he really 5'8" or is he 5'6"? That type of a thing. And the other thing is, quite honestly, and this is not to disrespect anybody's conference, in your opinion, do you think he played NFL caliber competition, racking up all those yards? He didn't play against Ohio State. He didn't play against Alabama. He didn't play against the Georgias. And you're going to go out there after you ran roughshod on the West Coast or Mountain West Conference. Nothing wrong with that. But would he have had the same success if he was suiting up as an Oklahoma Sooner?
Yeah, that's the kind of the $1,000,000 question because I I think Penn State, for the most part, kind of contained him. He still had a nice little day, maybe not yards per carry, but the one thing that for me that turns me into believing that Ashton Jeanty is the real deal is, yeah, he was doing that against the Mountain West, but if you go and you look at the numbers, they're video game numbers. Like they're like
Yeah,
one of those things where
yeah.
it's like, okay, like that's fine, those are still D1 athletes. And yeah, Air Forces and the Wyomings of the world, you're not going to see that type, that low of talent in the NFL. But he's also running for like 250 yards on like 15 carries against those teams. So I do think that will be key. But I think for a lot of these guys, and especially Aston Jeanty, it's where, it's what system you're put in, what they want to do, how they wanted. Because we saw it a few years ago with Bijan Robinson. Just for whatever reason, Arthur Smith was like, I don't really want to hand the ball off to you. You might catch the ball. And it's like, coach, I'm not really receiving back. Well, that's what I want to use you as. And it
And
really
he's not a
frustrated.
receiving back.
He is,
He
yeah. And so I am very, very intrigued by Ashton Jeanty. I mean, I'm looking at a mock draft right now. Looks like he's heading out to Vegas. And I think that would be great for y'all. But as long as he doesn't go to an NFC East team, I will be cheering for Ashton Jeanty very
agreed.
hard. I want to see the resurgence of the running back and this guy being the one too, because he is a class act. Everything I've heard, all the quotes, you mentioned Travis Hunter and you talked about which way, which side of the ball. I saw a quote, and again, this is a quote, so it wasn't a video, and I didn't hear actual audio. So you kind of, I don't know, it could have just been me getting fooled. But he said if he doesn't play on both sides of the ball, he's not going to play football. And if you believe, if you're Travis Hunter and you honestly believe a NFL team is going to take you with a second, first, third, fourth, top 5 pick, and they are going to put you on both sides of the ball 90% of the time, you're out of your mind. And the
Right.
other part of it too, and he doesn't want to admit this, and that's fine, but he's not, if he was only a wide receiver, we would not know Travis Hunter's name. He is a above average college wide receiver. He is a phenomenal defensive back. I think a big reason why I think Travis Hunter will probably go closer to the safety position is because what you mentioned is the lack of physicality. There are a lot of NFL teams that look at quarterbacks, and if you can't play bump and run, you can't play on this team. They're not always going to play bump and run, but
Right.
you need to be able to play bump and run. And if you're lined up next, across from AJ Brown, from DK Metcalf, if you put your hands on them, you better make sure you got a lot of physicality behind it because they're going to throw you off to the side, make you look ridiculous. I I think Travis Hunter is going to be a very, very good defensive back, but I do generally believe he probably fits more as a safety, and he might be maybe one of the best safeties we've ever seen. But again, I'm glad you brought
But
it up,
going
physicality.
back to the physicality, if
Yeah.
you put him at safety, is he going to do what Jeremy Chinn does?
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, and it's
You
something.
got line there. I'm going to tell him, hey man, go stand in the middle there. We need you in the center as a linebacker
Yeah,
for
0 chance. He's running. He's running to Coach D on the coach, coach. Yeah. Um, and I really do hope that that quote was not, or either out of like was out of context or whatever, because I do like Travis Hunter, and I like Shedeur Sanders too. I just, it's kind of the Bronny James thing. It's like it's not really your fault. It's just all this other minutia around you. Now, Shedeur Sanders has had some quotes that turn me off to him. I look at Bronny James and I just go, man, everything in your life you are set, but unfortunately, when it comes to the basketball side of things, you're. Uh, it's unfortunate, but no, I am very intrigued by what Ashton Jeanty can bring to the table at the next level, and Travis Hunter in a different sort of way, maybe a more perverse. Like, I'm not rooting for failure on Travis Hunter, but again, I'm not been a big fan of the way this group has handled the last 3 months, or even going back to the season. That's just my thoughts, but I don't know, Raider Jim, you have any more thoughts on the draft?
there, and it kind of ties in with your last point on our draft thing, which is what do you want your team to do next Thursday? I'll tell you, if there's some way they could move it up, forget about Ashton Jeanty, because I even heard something today where they say that the Bears are actually going to jump the Raiders to get the 5 pick because they're going to try to get Ashton Jeanty. And of course, all this is guesswork and prognostication. But if the Raiders could pull some deal and move up and the player is still there, hide him in the corner and pretend maybe he's not even in the draft. But if they could get Abdul Carter, I would be happy, 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 because that's a guy that's going to come out and make an impact as a rookie.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit before. What team were you worried about jumping in front of the Raiders?
Oh, well, no, what I
Oh.
heard I think it was CBS and maybe on an ESPN thing too, that the Bears may try to trade up and get over the Raiders to get
Mm,
to that 5 spot so that they can get Ashton Jeanty.
gotcha. Interesting. That would be very interesting. And I'm glad you brought up Abdul Carter, because I personally, now he does have some injury situation. I believe he's gonna be out to start the season. I don't remember if it was ACL, something. It was not ideal. But before that, he was everyone's number one best available player. And I guess for me, and this storyline has kind of faded, but I'm not very big on any of these quarterbacks. I've said it probably on every single podcast we've done in the NFL the last 4 times, 5 times. The one quarterback that I'm at least intrigued by, and I wouldn't waste a top 10 pick on him, but I would go first round is Jaxson Dart. And now I will also preface this by saying I am so bad at prognosticating quarterback talent from the college to the NFL level. Now, I said Joe Burrow was going to be good, but I mean, how much of a limb did you have to go out on that? So, take it with a grain of salt, but everything I've seen from these quarterbacks, Jaxson Dart has at least impressed me the most. And impressed could probably be putting it into air quotes there. But to figure out if we were going to get the first draft since 2017, of not getting a quarterback first overall. And of course, that was Myles Garrett. And obviously, he's got all the Defensive Player of the Year awards to prove that that was the right decision. But it doesn't seem like we are going to be getting a non quarterback going number one overall. As you mentioned, Cam Ward, more than likely going number one overall. But to figure out kind of where the other teams that need quarterbacks, what they do. Because again, I don't think this is and especially considering what's coming next year, if you want to jump on the Arch Manning hype train, the Carson Beck hype train, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks that are going to be in next year's draft. So it is a big question. You kind of mentioned some of those teams, even the Raiders. Look, Geno Smith, very good quarterback, but you'd wonder, and God forbid for Raider Jim's sake, that Shedeur Sanders is still there. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it would happen. I don't think Pete Carroll would want to deal with that. And I don't really think Tom Brady would want to
I
deal
don't
with
think Brady would want to.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And so, I'm just maybe throwing a little fire onto Raider Jim's panic over there. But yeah, I am very intrigued to see how the draft lines up when we don't have such a quarterback heavy draft. I mean, last year was what it was like 5, 6 quarterbacks in the first 11 picks. It was like, okay, like these all aren't going to be good. Some of them will be. And obviously, Jaden worked out, and it does look like Bo Nix is working out. But we're not getting everyone that's going to be like, hey, we found our franchise quarterback. And this year, it seems like the exact opposite. Now, obviously Abdul Carter is, that player that I think everybody wants to get a hold of. And especially if you don't have a need at quarterback and you're drafting very high up, got to feel really good about getting him if you are able to. For the Eagles, I kind of took a little different path just because the Eagles are drafting at 32. And I mean, it's hard enough for Raider Jim to kind of give his thoughts when they're drafting at 6. It's impossible for me to give a player or something like that. So positionally, I think you need to be looking at the offensive line. I think the guard position needs to be probably the main. Tyler Steen probably can step into that role, but I think for the Eagles to get a young guard into the system, get him into Jeff Stoutland U, if you will, I think that would be the best case scenario. And we'll see. I would not be surprised to see Howie maybe even move down out of that to maybe pick up a little more draft capital either this year or even looking ahead to next year. But the guard play or the guard position, I think, needs to be looked at. And I also do think um, tight end. Now, again, you're going to be needing to kind of get some guys there. Um, if we can get Loveland out of Michigan, if he falls to us, I don't think he will. I'm almost positive Tyler Warren is in this draft. Yeah. They have him going 14th overall. I mean, if Howie can somehow get Tyler Warren into Philadelphia, that would be a coup. But again, very difficult to kind of call out a player or anything like that when you're drafting at 32. Yeah, I know it's a weird flex like that. Read the hat. Um, but yeah, it's going to be either those two positions or best player available, I believe. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the draft, Eagles fans just have to have faith in Howie Roseman. And unfortunately, whenever I say that, a lot of people will bring up, um, shoot, I'm trying to think of his name. I thought I was going to be able to think of it off the top of my head. But the kid who we drafted out of TCU, one pick before Justin Jefferson. We were on a different podcast. We were still doing our thing. It was a live thing, and I had to mute myself because I was livid. I said, "Oh my gosh, Justin Jefferson is on the board. We need a wide receiver, biggest home run in all of sports." And we go somewhere else. And again, I want to say Traylon Burks. It's not Traylon Burks for whatever reason. That's the name that's stuck in my head. But that tells you we had a chance to just draft Justin Jefferson. We drafted a guy whose name I can't remember. That tells you how it worked out. But look, every once in a while, Howie is going to swing and miss. But I do think overall, you've got to imagine that Howie is going to hit it out of the park. I think this draft will be no different. And it's nice too, because you don't have a ton of holes that you do need to fill immediately. Maybe you're looking down the line at, the left tackle or the right tackle position with Lane Johnson here or there, but nothing needs to be addressed right this minute. And I think that's a really good place for the Eagles to be in. But for me, draft it's kind of like the beginning of the beginning. The NFL is the most oversaturated thing. I mean, we have an entire hour and a half program to the schedule release on ESPN, and the schedules get leaked like 3 days before that anyway. But they still put on this 90-minute production. But you know what? They're going to do numbers for it. So who am I to say? But it is kind of like the beginning of turning the page of last year and starting to look forward to next year.